Hey mama, there is so much going on in your life at postpartum. We're going to be talking about the first week postpartum and what can be going on with baby and you, and there is a lot to talk about. So I am excited to jump into this episode. My name is Jocelyn. I am the host and creator and owner of Positivity in Pregnancy and Motherhood, and I am glad that you are here making your pregnancy more positive and also your motherhood, because they are challenging seasons of life. They were much harder for me than I thought they would be, and I am still in the midst of it. My oldest is only 12. Nonetheless, I'm sharing with you what I have learned so that hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and my learnings to have your pregnancy and motherhood more positive. Let's do this together. Hi, I'm Jocelyn, fellow mom of 5 and host of the Positivity in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. I help pregnant women and mothers to find the positivity in their season of life through changing their thoughts to work for them and not against them. I help mothers find the small, doable steps in thought and action without making drastic changes to their everyday mom life. And I can help you. Let's find positivity during our pregnancies and in our motherhood together. Thanks for joining. Before we begin and get into everything, I just want to ask you some questions. We're friends, and I want to ask you these questions as a friend. How are you doing? How are you coping? How is your body feeling? How is your mind feeling? How are you doing? Think about these questions because postpartum can be really tough. That first week is extremely difficult because you are adjusting to a lot of new things. So before we get into like the mental stuff, which is the stuff that I really feel that will help even the physical areas, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with baby. So baby's first poops, as we have talked about last week with the birth episode, is meconium. In the first week, that should turn more yellow. As the meconium cycles through, it will turn to a more yellow poop, which is normal and how it is supposed to look. Babies also sleep a lot during this first week, but they have their days and their nights mixed up. So if you remember when the baby was in utero, they probably were a little more active at night when you'd lay down. My reasoning is, and I probably have heard this from other people, but you are moving around a lot during the day, so it kind of rocks and lulls them to sleep more. And at the night you would lay down, so they technically would be a little bit more active because you weren't moving as much at night. So they have their days and their nights a little bit backwards and mixed up. And so they may have more awake time at night, which can be very hard, frustrating, and tiring all in the same thing. Give it some time, mama, though. Usually within a couple weeks, they start to figure it out and get their days and their nights turned around right. They still get up a lot in the night, but it will get better. One thing that I do, not within the first week, but the first couple weeks, I'll just say this now, even though it's after week 1, is I would try and keep them awake a little longer if I could by talking to them or playing with their fingers or whatnot. So that's something you can start trying to do after the first week or so. I usually let them sleep a lot that first week because they need it. They're growing. Something with baby is also the umbilical cord. So the umbilical cord is best to keep dry and to not touch. A couple of brand of diapers for the newborn diapers, they actually cut it lower so that it doesn't cover up the umbilical cord. If your diaper is covering up, or if the baby's diaper, not your diaper, if the baby's diaper is covering up the umbilical cord, I encourage you to fold the diaper down below the umbilical cord because it heals better when it is dry and not rubbing on things. Also, not to have too tight of clothing. That can really help the umbilical cord to heal. It should fall off anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks, so don't pull at it. You don't even really have to apply anything to it. It should just naturally fall off over time. It is recommended to just sponge bath your baby until it falls off. And then after that, you can do a more, like a full bath. At this point, they're going to have 3 to 4 poopy diapers and wet in between, basically from day 3 on. They can only, maybe the first couple of days they won't have quite that many, but after that they can have quite a few diapers, so it's good to check their bum frequently. Okay, we're going to shift now, and this pertains to baby as well, but this is more in relations to you and what is going in. So for most moms, their milk or mature milk, it's the milk after the colostrum, comes in anywhere from 2 to 5 days after birth. And this is nice in ways because the colostrum is really healthy for mom and baby and for the baby to have, but it also can stain a lot more. When your milk comes in, it doesn't stain as much, which is actually really nice. But there are a lot of things that you can be dealing with when your milk comes in that can be very difficult. I have mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. Nursing is so hard, but it is so worth it. So let me list some of the reasons why it is hard. It is hard because when your milk comes in, you might be overproducing, you might be engorged, you might have overactive letdown. If your baby has tongue-tied, that can cause things to be complicated. You'll get sore nipples. It hurts to nurse because you're not used to your nipples being sucked on like that. And there's just a lot of reasons that I just listed that it can be really hard. One tip I will say is if you choose not to nurse, it's going to hurt to dry up and it's going to hurt to nurse. Either way, you're going to hurt in the breast area either way because new things are happening, and drying up, especially when they start filling up, can be painful as well. Just a future tip on that. I found the best way to dry up is just to nurse the baby until they eat like foods. Like I've always nursed my babies till a little over after a year, and then like it doesn't hurt to dry up. But when your breasts are so full and engorged at first and you're trying to dry up, it can be very painful. So let's talk about some of these things. If you don't have a breast pump already, I would encourage you to get one or some other way to help pump or release the engorgement. You could use a Haka or a manual hand pump. There are lots of options to help you express that milk out because for some of us, and this happened with me, if that happens with you, it's just really nice to know what to do. I got so engorged that the baby wasn't eating as much as I was producing, and they hurt really bad. When they fill up with milk, they get really tender. It hurts to touch them. If you bump them, it almost makes you want to cry. It can be very miserable. So if you have a breast pump, you can at least express and release some of that extra. The nice thing also about the breast pump is that this allows you to store breast milk. So I would nurse the baby, and then if I was still really sore, I would pump after, and then anything I pumped after would go in the freezer to have for the future. The thing about women's breasts that's pretty amazing is it is supply and demand though. So if you feed the baby and then pump after the baby, and you do that every time, your body is going to keep producing that much. So if you don't want to keep doing that, then you'll have to slowly start doing less. So you'll have to either do less minutes on your breast pump or skip a time using the breast pump so that your supply and demand can even out. Nursing, as I mentioned, can be hard, but I really encourage you to give it at least a month if you can. The first week is probably going to be some of the hardest as you adjust, because you also have to figure out how to get the baby to latch good and holding positions that makes it easiest. And like I say, figuring out the supply and demand can be a little bit tricky, but also is a way to allow you to store up some breast milk in the freezer, which is so nice. My first baby ended up being a NICU baby, and they gave me lots of lactation consulting. And that was probably because I was in the NICU quite a bit, and nursing a NICU baby is another thing and a whole different story. But nonetheless, even if you didn't have a NICU baby, most hospitals should have lactation consultants. Midwives can be great lactation consultants, and if they are not willing to do that or don't do that, I'm sure they have references for good lactation consultants. Lactation basically is just nursing a baby. And so I encourage you to get lactation support that will help you to figure out how to get the baby a good latch, how to help hold them properly, to get used to the whole thing. They have lots of really good tips, actually. I learned so much from them, and I'm so grateful that that there is a profession that people are lactation consultants. So I imagine you can even find free stuff online. For me, I feel like in person definitely is good in this area, because they can really help you and troubleshoot with what is going on with you and your baby, and tips specifically to you. So that is a good thing to do if you can. If not, reach out to a fellow mom who is nursed and ask them for help and tips. And I'm sure that they would have plenty to give you and be willing to help you. Reach out in the email if you have some tips, and I will try to support you from afar. Nonetheless, breastfeeding or nursing your baby is good for you and baby. There are so many good things in your breast milk that can help support your baby. So something fascinating that I have learned is that when there is sickness around, like say you have other kids or your husband is sick in the house, your breast milk will change and give your baby the right antibodies or immunities to help them fight that sickness. It is such powerful stuff. So not only is it helping baby, it also helps you. It helps you to lose weight. It helps to regulate your hormones and get your bleeding back to normal. And it produces, I can't remember what the exact hormone is called, but it's known as the love hormone. And nursing your baby can produce that, and it is really powerful. So that is a big shout out or encouragement for nursing a baby. Something I can't remember if I mentioned last week is that after birth there can still be some contractions, and those contractions can happen when you nurse the baby. I actually didn't notice them with my first 3 babies, but the last 2, they got a lot stronger. I don't know if that was an age thing, but just know there are afterbirth contractions that can happen. Mine usually only lasted a day or 2, but sometimes just being aware that those weird contractions when you nurse can be a little painful. Moving to a different area of your body, we're going to talk about down there. Just do your best to keep it clean. The Peri bottle with warm water is probably one of my favorites. When needed, I would use witch hazel wipes. For my first couple babies, I did ice down there, but after that, I haven't done the ice. I think I mentioned that in the last episode. Just take it easy, Mom. Rest. This is not a time to jump back into all your habits and everything you were doing before. This is a time to figure out life with your baby, to rest, relax, and just hold and snuggle that cute little newborn. They don't stay that small for very long. Another thing that you are likely dealing with is your emotions. Your emotions are going nuts. And that is because your hormones are going nuts. You are probably feeling overwhelmed. You are probably feeling out of control. And you are probably very tired. If you are any one of those things, I came up with probably way too many tips to help. But as I go through these tips, please consider the ones that seem to resonate with you, or that you're like, oh yeah, I need to do that. Or, oh yeah, that feels right to me. And then do it. Don't overwhelm yourself with trying to do all of them. It won't work, and it will just frustrate you. There is going to be a couple, though, that stand out in your mind. I encourage you to do those. So that first week, I just basically had to cry. I cried over everything, good things, bad things, sad things, nothing. It was nuts how often I just felt the need to cry. And this is me giving you permission. Cry, mama, cry. It is okay. This goes along with the tip that I have given many times before, and that is feel it to heal it. Feel that negative emotion, feel the need to cry, and just allow it to happen. And it can help heal. It can help heal you, help you to feel better as you release it rather than keeping it bunched up and stuffed down inside. Because if it gets stuffed down too much, it will eventually overflow, and it could be a lot more of a negative hit than if you just allow it to happen when it needs to happen. This is one of the reasons why sometimes it was hard for me to see people within the first week, because I just felt like a mess. My breasts were leaking. I felt engorged. I cried all the time. I was sore down there. I just kind of have felt like a little bit of a mess. But I found that instead of suppressing the need to cry, letting it out actually helped. And then when I did see people, I actually did a little better because I wasn't feeling so suppressed with negative emotion, if that makes sense. So to deal with overwhelm, you have a new baby, and this can come with a lot of very overwhelming thoughts. Like, what have I done? Like, oh crap, I have a child, and this child is now my responsibility forever. And it can come with a lot of like, whoa, scary, overwhelming feelings. Like, my life is completely changed now. Like, I can't do the things I once used to. I have to lug a car seat around, or I have to find a babysitter. And there's just a lot of complicating thoughts with that probably have you feeling a little bit of overwhelm. And it is okay, Mama. My tip for dealing with the overwhelm is to breathe. Just in deeply and out deeply. In fact, let's do a few of those breaths together. Even if you're not feeling overwhelmed, deep breaths are really good and really cleansing and mind clearing. So let's do 3 deep breaths. In, out. In, out. In, out. And anytime you find yourself going to overwhelm, I encourage you to breathe. Now, I mentioned a little bit that you might just be feeling a little bit out of control, mostly with like your body. You're bleeding, your breasts are sore and leaking, you are struggling with lack of sleep, and you just kind of feel out of control. So I want you to just repeat to yourself positive affirmations. And the simplest one you can do is, I am in control. I am in control. Say it to yourself, even if you don't feel that you are in control. These little things help to shift your mind away from negativity into positivity. Now, speaking of lack of sleep, I have a thought that I want to give you that I heard from a coach just on her podcast, and it really resonated with me. The lack of sleep was really hard my first couple pregnancies. I am definitely a mama, a woman, a girl, whatever, however you want to phrase it there, that likes their sleep. And so having to get up 2 to 3 hours in the night was really hard for me. And I would have all these reasons why I was so grumpy, mostly due to lack of sleep. And she, on her podcast, offered this thought that it's not a big deal. Lack of sleep is not a big deal. And I was like, what? Is that really a thing? Like, it's not a big deal? And I knew I needed that because it was wrecking my happiness, just complicating my marriage, how I felt, because I was overreacting to my lack of sleep in my brain. And so shifting away from the lack of sleep to having it be a big deal to just telling myself lack of sleep is not a big deal was like freeing. And as I had more babies, I just realized that God was going to help me figure it out and get my body in the rhythms needed to take care of this baby through the night. And most of my babies did not sleep through the night until over 1. So that is a long time to go without a full night's sleep. Like, if I have 5 kids, I've been doing that for like 10 years. And those 2 thoughts, it's not a big deal, and God is helping support me, really helped me to change and shift my frame of mind about the lack of sleep. It is hard, and there are times where you just need to cry about it. There are times you just need to take a nap. There are times when you need help and you need someone to watch your baby so that you can sleep. But having those thoughts when I was struggling and I didn't have like what I felt was the sleep I needed really helped to shift my mind. The other thing I want to tell you, I have 2 more tips that can help. When your emotions are nuts, skin to skin actually can help. So have your baby cuddle skin to skin with you, and that can help to release some of the negative emotion. And the last tip that I want to share for this first week is to rest in deep gratitude. Mama, you have done something amazing. God has helped you do something amazing. You and your husband came together and created a baby. You created a human, and your body took the last 9 months or so to grow that little human. And now that little human is here on the earth. He or she, we're like tearing up because it's so powerful. He or she is in your arms. And just rest in that deep gratitude about what your body did, what your body is doing to care for you and to care for this baby. Rest in that deep gratitude and offer humble prayers to God of how thankful you are that this little miracle is in your arms. It is so cool and so amazing. I am cheering for you, Mama. I know these first little while, especially if this is your first baby, is really hard, but you can do it. God is cheering for you. Pray to Him. I'm cheering for you. Your family is cheering for you. You can do this, and you can find the right tools and the right things to help you through. Use them this week, and we will chat again next week. Until next time. Thank you for being a part of the Positivity in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast, for listening, for sharing, and most of all, for applying these tools into your own life to improve your own happiness so that you can find your own better thoughts and becoming the mother that you desire to be through taking small steps in thought and action to reach your goals. If you are a mother who has an inner desire to enjoy motherhood and pregnancy better, but you are having difficulty figuring it out, I can help you. Thanks for joining. Reach out, let's connect, and let's see you move forward in your motherhood. My name is Jocelyn, and I thank you for listening. Until next time.